Hi there, awesome people. Welcome back to my channel where we try to make coding simple and easy for everyone. Today we are diving into the world of React and we will be learning how to build a simple reusable components in React and also learn how we can address the requirements given to you and how you can build this thinking on how to build your components in the best approach. So again, this is a full beginner course. So if you already have experience with React, maybe this is not the best one for you. Also on the way, we'll be doing some unit tests. So get comfortable and let's get started. So what we will be building, so we'll be building this forecast feature section, okay? So this is a challenge using Friends and Mentor website to help me to get started with examples for you guys. You can feel free to go in and log in with your GitHub account. They have some challenges you have free, but others are paid, okay? So the free ones, it will give you full access to all details you need, to the Figma files. No, actually Figma file is paid one, sorry for that. But it gives you a screenshots and images, so it can help you to pick up the colors and so on. Also, it have some details in the README file with all what you need, okay? So feel free to go ahead, log in if you want to, and you can click Start Challenge, and then it will download the assets for you. For me, I already have them downloaded, so I got my Figma, and that's giving me the design file right there, okay? So if I go and open this, okay, I'll just open first my browser. Unfortunately, Figma before was free, but now it is paid, so you can't do actually the details inspection uh, now until you have a paid version. And I don't have a paid version, and I don't want to pay for it as I don't really need it. So I'll stick to the free version. And good for us is that like basic details and colors and fonts that are given to us, okay? So this is the design file and this is how it looks in desktop and this is how it looks in the mobile, okay? And these are the colors palette. And if we go back to our folders, you get another folder also. Let me open it up. And this one basically it have like the images you will need, they are already there for you. And it goes also the design that I told you, okay? So if you don't have a paid version, you'll have access to these images, okay? Which can help you to build your project. Now let me close this one. Other thing you will have is a README file. So let me open it. And README file it give you the all instructions what you need to do in this project. Okay, so what is the challenge about? Where to find everything you need, the assets. Then you have building your project. Okay, so here basically what they're asking us is that you need to initialize your project with a public repository in GitHub and create a repo where you can share your code. Okay, so that's if you want to share your code with someone, even you can upload it in different and mentor and someone review it for you as well. Now, the requirements they start actually from here. And they say look at through the designs to start planning on how you tackle your project. Okay, this step is crucial to help you think ahead for your CSS class to create reusable styles, which is true. And here, this point is very important. Even I have seen senior devs really skip this part. Okay, they just want things to be delivered and they don't focus on the requirements and they end up by have to do their work again. Okay, so make sure first thing you do is that you look at the designs, understand, so you have over idea what things can be reusable. Okay, next the same, before adding any styles, structure your content with HTML. Okay, so don't just go and add CSS. First thing you write your HTML structure, okay, which is your JSX in React. Writing your HTML first can help you focus your attention on creating well-structured content, which is really true. Now, after you've done that, then you write out the base styles for your project, okay? Including general styles like font family and font size. Then you start adding the actual styles that help to lay out your page, okay? So only move to the next section once you are happy and complete your work in here, okay? So when you're happy with that, even they give you instruction how you can deploy your project to Vercel as well. Then, because this one is there for them, so they're asking also how you can create a README file for them so they can access your solution and how you can access it. So if you want to really to submit your solution, then you have to follow all these steps, okay? But for me, all I can about is that the requirements at the moment here. Now, if I go back to my folder, I have here something called style guide, okay? An amazing thing here is that they're giving you all the colors, okay? What the design breakpoints are, okay? The primary colors they're using, also the other natural colors they're using. Also, they're giving the standard body font size and also which font family they're using and the link also where to get it. So you can't get much more easier thing than this, really. So you have all your requirements, everything is given to you. Now, done with the requirements, let's go back to our project. So you have to make sure first you have Node.js, of course, installed on your machine so you can access the npm package, okay? So if you don't have it, please go ahead and download Node.js on your machine. For this demo today, we'll be using a boilerplate from Create React app. So what I will do, I created a folder in my machine. Okay, so I will create my project right there. So I will go and open terminal. So I'm using Visual Studio Code, that's my favorite editor, but please feel free to use any editor that you like and you feel comfortable with. I like Visual Studio Code because I have a lot of features, a lot of extensions. Even one of the amazing thing here is have a built-in terminal, so I don't have to go and open another terminal on my machine and keep switching between my terminal and my editor. So feel free to do whatever suits you the best. I'll close this and I will go to my page, and what we'll do, we'll create our first application boilerplate. So I'll just copy this and I'll go back to my Visual Studio Code, just paste it, and let's call it cards. Okay, I'm just calling it anything I want. So I'm calling it cards. You call anything you want your folder and hit enter. So this one will be creating for us the boilerplate for our project, the basic of our project, because I don't want to spend 1 day and 2 days just creating the start of my project, okay? So this will generate for me everything and everything will be working. Then I just have to clean it up and start adding my own components. Okay, now my project is installed. So you can see here, it's asking me to go inside my folder. So CD, I name it cards. So you'll do CD to whatever folder you created. And then I can just say npm start. And this will run my project on my local host and I can access it from my browser. So there we go, you can see starting the development server. Okay, so it's saying I can go and access through my localhost 3000, so control click if you are in Windows, and that should open for me in my browser. Oops, there we go. So that's our boilerplate created. So from where all this is coming, let's go back to our project. So we can go inside cards. And of course, if you're using different boilerplates, will be different structure. So we go inside of source, then we have our index.js. So that's your, wait, let me open that. So that's your entry point. That is your first entry point, okay? And all it's doing is just creating a React DOM, then injecting your project into an element or div into your HTML, which have an ID of root, okay? So usually we don't touch this screen at all, except we have some high-level configuration, but we will not be doing anything with it in this video. Okay, everything will start from this app, which is right there, and that is the first component created to create your app. So all our content at the moment is coming from here. If you remember that there was an image, there was some text, and also there was a link right there. So we don't need all this stuff. So what I will do, I'll just go and remove all this from here. And for now, just say hello. Okay. Same thing for our CSS. So it have a normal CSS here. So we'll keep it and we'll clean it up and add the one actually we are using for our project. Okay, now what I want to do is that I have to make sure that I have my requirements in front of me before I really start development. So I opened the style guide README file. So I want to start first setting up my fonts. So usually you start this way. First get your fonts, whatever those high level things installed and ready for you before we start really writing HTML. So I'm not doing any CSS or anything. I'm just adding the font. First I'll copy this link. I'll go back to my browser and try to access my font. And there are many ways you can add your fonts, but we're going through simple way for today. So we'll go and click get font, then I'll get embedded code, and then what I want to do, I will get just the link option, okay? So I can put inside my head of my HTML because I'm using the Create React app boilerplate, so I'll be able to do this approach. So I'll copy this, go back to my code, then go back to my files, and inside public you'll find your HTML page, okay? And you remember talking about the root, that is the root, and that's where all your project goes in. Now, of course, the fonts always go behind the close and opening head tags. So I'll go right here anywhere and I'll just paste it. Okay, so all what I'm doing is that I'm using their method to get the font, the CDN, using the link. Okay, so I'll save this. And when you do that, you may have to restart your um, dev. So I'll stop this, say yes, and then again run it. Okay. And what I will go and do now, I'll go back to my browser and it's giving me here some idea how I can use the font. Okay, so I know the font will be name is, oh, my doesn't just run on top of it, so I'll just close it. My font name is Popping, so I'll just copy this, go back to my code, go back to my CSS, and I'll just replace whatever I have here with that new font I have now. Okay, so basically I'm saying now the font I'm using is Popping. If Popping is not available, just use sans serif. Okay, so I'll remove whatever we had before, and I'll remove this as well. I don't need it, and that's it. Okay, and that's all what you have to do to get your font ready. Now let's go back to our project and let me open Figma again. So let me just get the Figma in our browser. So this is our Figma design, okay? So first thing I can see is that I have a headings and then I have four cards, okay? And these four cards basically they look the same. The only thing they have different is the color, okay? And the content. And also all of them have an image on the bottom right, but this image is different, okay? Now, what things come to your mind when you look at this? You'll think, okay, this is something which is reusable, means you'll create it one time, then you'll just copy paste it and change the color of it. Okay, so maybe let's take it that way. First, let's build the top section. So as I don't have the paid version of Figma, I'll just try to get as much close as possible. So when I click this, for example, I can see that the text, it is some not fully black color, but this is the color I'm having here. Let's compare that one to our readme file, which have the styles. So I can say it's this one, okay? And the thing is that I don't like using HSL in my coloring. So what I will do first, I'll convert these colors. Okay, so what I have done, I just went online. I googled how to use or transform HSL colors to hex colors and give you online converters, which are free. So I use them to convert this for me. Okay, so now that's one out of the way. Let's go back to design again. So what I will do, I'll create a heading section to hold for me the heading, which is right there. So let's go back to our code. And the way we can do that is we can go inside our source, and usually there's a structure you follow is that all your components should go under component folder. So I'll create a component folder, and inside there I'll create my first component, which is called header. And inside my header, I'll just create index.jsx, okay? So that's where I'll write my component. So your component, of course, will be a functional component. So I'll just use a shortcut in my Visual Studio Code will generate the base of it. And make sure always your component starts with a capital letter, okay? Even your naming right there. I'll click Save this, and this will be my header. Save. Now I create my component, it's exported. Let's go and import it inside our app.js. Okay, so I say import, and I will say header from source, or no, just one level up. So inside our components and header. Okay, and now we did that, we just have to access our component and display it. Click save. Let's go back to our browser, go to our application, and there we go. You can see your header right there. Okay, so our component is coming properly. Let's go back again to our Figma file. Let me find it. Now, if we see here, we have the color, which is this one here, and we'll see also, if I'll see if I can find the font size as well. So that is the font size, which was 36. So let me go back, just copy this color as well, and let's go back to our project. And what we'll be doing this basic video, we'll be using basic CSS styling. I'm not using any built-in other libraries or anything like that. That'll be for next videos. So I'll go inside the header. I'll add a new file which called index or just header.css. Okay. And what I will do, I will say, for example, uh, whatever my H1. Okay, this is the styling for it, and the color will be whatever we copied, and the font size, if I remember, was 36 pixels. Okay, and what we'll do is that we need to import the CSS inside our component. So import index, no, header.css. Okay, and this one have to be a H1, and this one have to be a H1. Click save, and let's see if our style is working. There we go. I can see my color is right there, and also the font size is bigger. Now, the other thing is that in my header, I can see the font weight is light. It's not a heavy font. So let me check other one as well. So this one is also same color, and also the font size is same. Okay, so what we can do is, I'm just thinking of a way how I can make this one actually reusable now. So we have two headers which are same font size, same color, only the font weight is different. Okay, so how we can tackle that? So I'll go back to my code, and basically what I will say is that I will have two headers. Okay, but it will accept a property called text. Okay, so I'll make it reusable. So whatever text is needed, that will be passed down now from the parent component, and to not be hard coded inside here. Okay, so here, whatever that property we passed right there, okay, that's the prop for this component. So we have to make that component understand it, and then I'm not displaying any hard coded text inside my small component. I'm passing down the text. Okay, let's save this, and let's save that, and let's see what we have in our UI now. So our UI doesn't have anything at the moment, and let's see what happened. Let me inspect, console log, open the component. So if you don't have this in your project, please go ahead and install this Chrome React Dev tool. Okay, so you can go and add this dev tool to your browser. Okay, so for me it's already installed, so I can see remove from Chrome, but if you don't have it, you'll see add extension or something like that. So please make sure you add it, because any React developer needs to have this tool with that when they are developing. Now I'll go back here and I'll debug this. So it's saying the prop text is expecting, but it's empty. I forgot to actually add some text. Now let's copy the text from our Figma file. I'll just go here and copy this text, copy, and that's be our first one. Then the second one is this one here, and I'll just go and add that text there as well. Okay, now save it, and let's go back to our UI, and there we go. Okay, so I can see my both headers coming through. Now, In our design, one of them is light and one of them is bold, okay? So I want a way that my components are reusable, right? So it need to understand that there are different variations of the font weight. So again, there are different ways of doing this, but I'll take the simplest and easiest way because this is again a beginner course. I'll just introduce a new prop, okay? I'll say, for example, is bold, okay? So is bold, it will be a boolean. And for example, the first one will be false, so it will be true by default. So I'll go back to my component. I'll add this new property here. And then now I have to add something in my class, okay? So it will be conditional class. So class name, and this will be conditioned. I will say, for example, if is bold, okay? So if I have the property is bold, then um, I'm thinking what should be default styling. So I'll keep the default styling as bold. So if it's not bold, then just add a class saying light font or something like that. Okay. So if it is bold, then don't do anything. Okay. Otherwise, add class saying is light. Okay. So let's go back to our UI and see that's what we'll do. I will go actually to the HTML inspection. So you can see here, it's saying both of them is light, okay? For some reason, both of them is saying is light. That means my condition is not working properly. One of them should have it and one of them should not have it. So is bold. So here we said in our app, this one is bold is false, okay? And this one is bold is true. I'll say is bold is true. So I'll just hard code it for now, okay? Go back to our header and that's the component, and let's actually add our console log and say is bold. So now we are learning how to debug the issues. So let's go back and we can see now it's working. Actually I was missing something, so false, okay? So the first one it should not be bold, the second one it is bold, okay? So the first one is saying is light, which is correct, and second one there's nothing because there's no class. The other way you can debug is you go to your component and this is your first header. So is bold is false, okay? And second one is bold is true, okay? Now let's do the actual styling. And I will say if this h1 have a class is light, then I want a different styling, okay? So I need the header.css. I'll go h1.isLight and I'll say font weight is just 100. Okay, let's save this and see if this is working. And there we go. Okay, so this is amazing. So basically you're able to create one component which have many features which are similar, only few things need to be customized, and you can do this customization through props that you're passing down to your components. Okay, now this is working, but I can see the spacing or the line height is too much between them. So let me just make this one bigger and see this. So the spacing here shouldn't be that much spacing between my two components, okay? And also I think I made too much light. This is not 100. Unfortunately, because I don't have paid version, so I can't see exactly how much should be. So I'm just trying to guess as I'm developing. So what I will do here, I'll say 300, save, and go back to my browser now. And I think that's too much now bold. Let's make it 200, save it. Okay, I think this is perfect now. Okay, so this is great. Now let's see the line height. Okay, so I think this is a default line height which comes with the default browser settings. So what I will do, or margins actually. So there are, you can see here that orange color, that's the margins. So I will say that in my header, my components, when I'm using that H1, I want no margins. Okay, so margin 0. Save that, go back to my browser, and there we go. Okay, so this looks amazing. Now what I will do, I will just add some padding to my actual app so my text is not sticking up there. So I'll go back to my source CSS, and outside my body have a padding, for example, of 50 pixel all the way. from all sides. Close this, and there we go. So this is great, okay? Now, what I want to do is that before I move on and start looking at other parts, I finish my header component. I want to unit test it. What that unit test means, so when you rewrite your code or your component, you want to make sure your component is working as expected. Let's say in future you have a big project, this component gets bigger, you have more people working with you in the team. You don't want anyone by mistake to go and remove something which was already working because of a new change. So the unit test makes sure that these changes, when they are made, your component is still working as it was before and as expected, and give also a kind of details. It's like a kind of documentation thing, but documentation that enforce that component is still working as expected. Now, because we reuse a boilerplate ready from Create React App, all the dependencies we need are already installed. So let me open package.json. And you can see here, you need all these packages to write your unit test, okay? And they're already installed for us. Also, the configuration is already done for us. So I don't need to go through all that stuff or give it a time to get it set up. And actually, we have one test written for us in the first boilerplate we're going to get it generated, which is this one, okay? And this one will fail when we run our test. And the reason why is because we cleaned up, if you remember, our app.js, okay? So this test now is expecting to find a text called learn react, which we already removed it and will not be running, okay? But you can see the first thing they have done is that they import the testing library, then you import your component, okay, that you are testing, then you start writing your scenarios, so descriptions of what test you want to run, then here you run your actual test. So we'll be doing actually almost the same thing as well, okay? So I'll copy the first lane, and I'll go back to my components as I created, okay? And usually the way you write your test is that you keep your test files in the same root as the component itself, okay? And what I'll do now, I'll go inside my header component, I'll create a new test file called index.test, then .gsx. Same as what we have for here. Oh, sorry, it shouldn't be .gsx, it should be .gs. One moment, let me remove that. Okay. Now, let's do the first thing, which is importing your testing library, okay? And the second thing is that we need to import our components, so import header that will be testing from, okay, let's add our first test. So first you start with the description, so describe, and say header components, okay? That's overall description. Then arrow function. Then inside now here you can write your tests. Oh, this should be a comma. Okay. Now my first test. So test, or even if I some please basically just use it. Okay. Oops, not that. It. Okay. It is same thing. So I'll just use test. And I'll say first thing I want to make sure is that my component is rendering properly, okay? Which means my H1 is rendered and the text when it's coming through, it is rendering too, okay? So that is the first thing, renders the text prop correctly, okay? So that's the first thing I want to test. That's the description. Now we write actual tests. First thing, you have to mock the render of your component, okay? And for that, we use this render function that we imported from React Testing library, okay? So when you use that, it gives you back something because that is a function. It returns you something, okay? And one thing we will use is give us back. It's called get by text. So you find elements in your render or your mock render using its text, okay? And I'll say render, and then pass your components, so header, and I'll say text equal hide there, for example, okay? You can put any text you want. Now, we mocked the render of our component, we extracted this function here that we use to find our text. Now, let's run actual test. So I'm expecting, so expect that get by text and whatever text you add here. So if you remember this hide there, we pass a text property. It will render as some text in our HTML or JSX. So I'll copy the text as it is right there. I'll say find this one by text. When you find it, it should be in my document to be in the document. Okay, great. So we write our first test. Now how we can run it. If you go to your package.json, you have already a script there for you. It's called test. Okay, so I'll come here in my terminal. I'll say npm run test. And basically this one will run all the tests for me. Okay, now this is not working. And I think I just have to do npm test. And this is also still not working. Oops, because I'm in the wrong project. I had to do cd cards and then run my test. There we go. So now my tests are running. I'll just close that. So it's running the test for all the test files are there. So currently we have two, the app.ts, test.js, and also the header slash index.test.js. So let's see what it will find. So it says one test has passed and one is failed, okay? And the one which is failed is the app.test.js, and we're expecting that. And our actual test is passing actually. So if I go here, this one, header test is passing, which is great, okay? Let's add more. And maybe first I'll just remove this test file as well. Okay, now we know that our component is good, it's running properly, it's giving me the text back. Now the second thing we have to test is this class, okay? And that's the second main functionality of our component, is that sometimes the text is light, sometimes it's not, depending on the property we're using here, okay? So we have to test both scenarios. When this one is true and when it is false, if my class is adding or not adding properly. So what I will do, I'll just copy this, paste it, and let's do the first scenario we're going to test. Okay, let's say applies no class when is bold is true. Okay, so is bold is true, that class we added should not be there. So how you can do that? So we have to add first that is bold is true. Okay, and then what we want to test is, this time we don't want to test if just the text is rendering, but we want to test if that text element have the class, okay? So, or not have the class. So I will do this. I say dot not dot to have class, and whatever class you used, okay? So we call the class is light. So that's the class I'm going to test. Now let's save this and let's see if it's working. Okay, and it passes. Okay, and you see the way we put the description of the test, that's how it is helpful. So when you have big projects and big components, your tests are easier to read. Okay, so that's the main description, and these are each test, and both of them are green. Now let's test the other scenario. So I'll just copy and paste this one again for easy. So apply now class when is bold is false. Okay, so the way you can do it is either pass is bold set to false. Okay, and this time it should have class. So to have class, I remove dot not. So when is bold is false, I want this class to be passed. Let's save and see if our test works. Okay, great. Now other than I want to test for this, for example, if someone doesn't pass the class, okay? So if you don't pass the class, then it should be by default set to false. So applies class when is bold is not passed as a prop. Okay, so let's save and test it also. and that's also working. Okay, great. So you can see the unit test is really good. Let's say, for example, if someone goes and remove this by mistake, okay, what will happen? Our test will fail, okay? And if someone by mistake does that and when they want to push their code, the test will stop them. I'll tell them, okay, these tests are failing, please go and check, okay? And that's why unit test is so important, so powerful. Just make sure when you do a unit test, you don't really take it too much deep in testing, only test things that you need to test, okay? And also don't stay without doing a unit test. Next, we finish with the header. Let's look at the content. So let me make this one a little bit smaller. So we can see here the body content, okay? And if you remember in our style guide, if I open it, it says that the normal font size is 15, okay? And let's figure out the color. So the color is this one as well, same thing, okay? Only difference now is that I want to understand if this one is same as this one. And I can look at them and I can tell you it's the same thing. So this one is 13 here and this one is 15. No, which is not same, okay? So the normal body font size, it is 15, but inside our card is smaller, okay? Which means if I go to main style, CSS file, which is the index.css, I will add some generic styling, okay? So HTML, standard font size will be 15 pixels, okay? And the color will be this color right here. So let's open that and say color. I will put the code there. And also the font weight will be regular. Font weight is regular. Okay, should be 500. I'll click save. Now I'll go back to my app and add this content. Should be just a p paragraph, okay? Just a paragraph. So I'll go back to my code and that is app.js. And what I will add now, I'll just add a p tag with this text, okay? Let's click save, go back to our browser, and there we go. And I can see that 500 actually as a standard font is not really regular. I have to change it. And I will go back to my actual CSS file again, which is index.css. And let's put for now 300, click save, and there we go. That is much better. If you had really access to Figma, to DevTool, it will help you to get the exact styling format. But now we are just trying to match it up. Okay. Now, next thing we want to do now is the cards. So as you can see, we have 4 cards. The layout is the same, only the color is different on the top, and also the image on the right is different, which means these things have to be reusable part of my component, plus the title and the text. So how we can approach this? Let's create one, and then we see how we can format it, okay? So let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. I'll open also my browser here. So I'll close the CSS file I don't need. I'll close also the style. And let's create a new component which is called card. Okay, and this will be a reusable component. And inside I'll create my index.jsx and then create my functional components. Okay, and let's call also here card. Now, what you want to do first is that let me open again the design. So we want to have a title, a body description, and then an image. Okay, so let me close this and let's have a return type here. And we said first thing we want to have a title. Let's call it, for example, an h3. Okay, and this is my title. And we will have a body inside. Okay, and let me copy some text, random text. Oops. And let's go back to our code. I'll just paste this text. Then we will have also some image here, okay? Which most probably it will be a button thing, but I'll keep it an image because no requirement is telling me that. An image, okay? And what I have done, I copied the image we got from our folder that we download, okay? And I put them under the public folder, okay? Now I will try to access one of those images. And let's say the first one we have here is the house. So which one is the house? So you can see they're all just SVGs, okay? So let's just copy one of them. I'll say rename, so I copy the name, go back here, dot .svg, then alt text, then alt text and my image for now, then close it off. Let's click save and see our browser if our HTML is rendering properly. No, and that's because we didn't import it yet. So I'll close the header, close the CSS, go to my app, and let's use card. Okay, and you can see here my Visual Studio Code is helping. I want to import it from my component / card. Click save, and there we go. Okay, so I can see my title, I can see my text. Now let's style it. Okay, so I'll go to my card again. I'll create a CSS file for this one. I'll call it card.css. Okay, and then I'll import that style here. Import my style, so card.css, just like that. Okay, now let's start with styling. So first thing we need is to check the width of this card. So usually I don't like hard coding. Some scenarios you don't have options. So for this card, for example, this is the standard width of the card. But I know later it needs to be responsive, okay? So the way I do usually I start with is that first I'll pick up what is the exact width, and I can see here is 350 pixels, but I never give a height, okay? So 350 pixels. So I'll come here, I'll say class name is card, okay, and I'll go inside here, create a style. So I'll say width is 350 pixels, but if of course I'm on small screen, I want the max width to not cross 100%, okay, of whatever parent it has. Now next thing I want to do is the border, okay. So if you remember our design, it have here this top thing which is colored, so that will be a border. So let me focus on it, this one here, okay. So I want to see how much big is this element, so I'm trying to just select that. So I can see here the height is 4 pixels, okay, and the color is red as well. So what I will do, I'll just copy this red color and I will go to my CSS. I'll say border top, okay, 4 pixels, and border color is red. Okay, now that's out of the way. Let's figure out now the border radius. You can see here the corners are curved, so I'm just trying to see if I can get it without that inspector, which is not really giving me anything. Okay, it's giving me 0 because it's not picking it up. Let me try the red thing. It does give me same thing. It doesn't. Okay, so I'll just give something really close to it. So I'll say border radius 30 pixels, and let's see how it looks like. Okay, now let's go back. So our cars, if you select them, you see they are white. Okay, they have also a shadow around them, and let me see if I can access the shadow styling. So this is dev mode. I told you need to pay for it. If it was working, you will get the exact styling, but I don't have that. So what I will do, I'll just see if I can get it, otherwise I'll just ignore it because that's not really the purpose of this video. Okay, I can't get it. So what I will do is just stick to the background, which is a white background, okay? And the background of my app actually is different color. So the app background is this color, so I'll go fix that first. So I will go now to my actual source CSS, and I'll say my body background color will be this one. Okay, and my card background will be white. Okay, now let's see how this looks like for now. There we go. So it is getting shaped. Our border radius is too much. It's not that much should be. So let's try 10 pixels. And there we go. That looks much better. Now, my border top, I can't see it. And maybe the reason why is I need to use a different one. There we go. Okay, great. Now, our card is really shaped. Now we need to add some paddings. And let's go back to our style. And let's see if we can get that. So I will try to select this and then select that. So basically it doesn't allow me to inspect anything. So I'll just give an overall idea how the padding or how much it should be. So I'll go back to my style and I'll say the padding, for example, is 20 pixels. Okay. And also the text align, you see in our UI, it is centered. It shouldn't be centered. So I'll say text align left, and there we go, everything went to the left. Okay, now the other thing we want to see and fix is our title. So our title, it is, for example, this team builder. I'll copy that first and fix my content. Oh, for each element, and that helped me. For example, sometimes someone want to come and change this element from H3 to H4 or anything like that. My design doesn't break, so I'm not depending on the elements themselves, but I'm adding classes for them. So I add for the title, the contents, and the image as well. And then in my CSS, I just add the styling right here for it, okay? Which is pretty awesome. So now you can see that my card is shaping off. Now, if you go back to our design, which is the main goal for us now, is that we want the same card 4 times with different content and different colors, okay? So how we can do that? So first I can see is that the border is different, okay? Then of course the content is different. So let's start one by one. Just close this, go to my card. I'll go actually to my roots. Okay, let's go back to our app. Okay, and let's duplicate this card. VVV. So first thing what I want to be reusable is I want the title to be reusable. Okay, so I can add a property called title. And I'll just go here and copy, for example, this title. And I'll do the same thing for others as well. Now I have done this, but still my component will not render that text because it doesn't know it yet. So I go back now to my component and I'll add a property called title. So whatever property you defined here, that is the one there, okay? Then I will add my title right there. Okay, now if I click save, you see my text now has changed and it is rendering for me exactly the text I have added. Same thing I will do for content. So I did same thing for content as well. So I added a new property called content. So I'll go now to my component and pass off that property as well and remove this hard-coded one and make it read from my content. Click save, open our app, and there we go. So you can see now we have different text. Now I will do the same thing for image as well. Okay, so what I have done here, I added an image path property to my component, but still I didn't pass it down. So what I will do, I will save this page, then I'll just go back to my component, which is card, and then I'll add that property as well. So that's a new property, and I'll come here and I'll instead of hard coding the source, I'll say that's an image path. Let's save it, and there we go. So we have all images that come in differently. Now the other thing we want to look at is this border color, okay? How we can customize this border color depending on what we need. So currently here we have 4 colors. Okay, now the different ways of doing this, there's not a straightforward or the best practice. It's just you need to have a good understanding whatever approach you take, okay? So for me, the way I'm going to do it for this simple video is that I'm going to pass a property or actually a class name, okay? So a custom class name. So what I will do, I'll go to my app.js, I say custom class, okay? And this custom class, I will call it, for example, for the first one, let's copy it. For the first one, I will call it red border, okay? Second one, I'll call it aqua border, okay? Same thing I will do for others. Custom class equal, so what is the color of other one? That's a blue border, blue border, and the last one will be orange border. Okay, now I need to pass down this property to my component, of course. So it's called class name, and that class name, what I will do, I will add it to whatever class I already have. So this one will not be like this anymore. It will be a curly bracket, and then it will be card, and then space, and whatever custom class I'm having coming down. Okay, and this custom class is not mandatory, and it will accept default values empty string if it doesn't exist. Now these classes are passing down. Okay, so if we go back to my UI and we inspect it, you will see here that every component have different class. All what I have to do now is just style them. Okay, so basically border red, I'll come here, if dot card dot border red, okay, then I want to be border color is red. Okay, same thing I will do for others now. So I'll just copy this. The other one is aqua, so aqua, and the border color will be, let me get it back from here, so this color here. Go back to my design, paste it. The other one will be blue, blue border. Okay, so I'll do blue, oops, blue border, and the blue border here I have is this color. So copy that one and paste it here too. Then the last one was orange border, and again the color is right there, or just copy it, paste it. Okay, great. Now let's look at our UI, how it looks like. Close this, and there we go. Amazing, right? So our component is actually now rendering properly, and it's rendering the size that we need. Okay, it's not yet, we didn't format the whole UI, but we have built really a reusable component. Now one thing you have to keep in mind is that when we build this component, these values are expected to be passed down. Okay, so they are mandatory fields or mandatory properties. So we need to do something and define these props. Okay, so if someone come and read our code, they will know which props are mandatory and which ones are not, and also what is the type expected for each property. Okay, so first thing we need to do is that we need to import prop type from prop types. Okay, then we can come right down here and we do our component. So it's a card dot prop type, prop types, no, prop types, and you have to be careful with spelling here. So the P is lowercase, but the T is capital. Then here you can list all your properties. Okay, so I will just paste quickly here. So we have 4 properties. Title, it is a required one, it is a mandatory. Okay, then content is same thing, image path is same thing, but class name, it is not mandatory. Okay, it's not required, and that's why I set it at this default value to empty string. So if someone doesn't pass it, I'll not have here some null or undefined in my class name. So I save this, let's double check our UI, and it's still working as expected. let's create the unit test before we move to the next thing, so we keep it up practice. So we'll create a new file called index.test.js. Okay, and as we did for other one, okay, you need to import your test library. Okay, so I'll just copy this one here and paste it right there, and then import our component, which is card, from our index. And let's start writing our description. So describe, and this is our card component. Okay, so arrow function, and then we start writing our actual test. So the first test I want to do is that I'm rendering my components properly, okay, with all the required props. So I'll say test. So first thing I want to do, renders the card component with the required props. Okay, and first we have to mock the render of our component, so we need to use the render, and when we use that render function from here, we will get back again an object with few functions that can help us to do our test. Okay, so the first thing I want to test is that I want to test my image. Okay, and I want to test that my title and my content are there. So I can find my image with an alt text, and I can find my title and content by text. So I can do like this, const get by text and get by alt text, and this one will help me to find my image, equal render, and then I will just render my components. Okay, so I will just paste here my components. So this is my card, that's a title, and that is my image path. Okay, now I mock the render of my components. Let's do assertions and do our check. Okay, so first thing I want to do is check that my title exists, okay, in the document. So let's click save, and actually let me run my test cd cards, and I'll say npm test, and let our test run. This is my card component, say passes, and our first test is passing successfully. Now second thing I want to test is that my content, of course, is rendering properly. Okay, so let's paste this and click save, and let's see if that works. And still my test is passing properly because we're still in the first test, so all is good up to now. Now second thing is the image. Okay, and the image, we are checking the alt text for my image, and in our alt text, which is, I think something's wrong we are doing here, we have to create actually a custom alt, otherwise we will have same images having different images in our app with same alternative text, and I'll leave that for you to fix. So my image, that's alt text, I'll find my image with this alt, which is my image, and there we go. Let's click save and see if that's working. Great. Now next thing I want to do is that I want to check if my image that I find with this alt text does have this image path as a source for it. Okay, so that's my next thing. And yes, it is working. So basically my props are passing down properly and my component is rendering as expected. Now, next thing I want to test is that the custom class. Okay, so what I want to test is that when I'm passing down my custom class is added properly to my elements. Okay, that's because that's what we are doing right here. Now let's go back to our code, and I will paste this for you. So I'm testing that I'm applying my custom class when provided. Okay, so what we did the mock is that custom class is there, and I have some random custom class. Okay, then I'm checking is that I'm acting also the container, which is my element I get back when I mock the render. So I'm checking that my container first child, because I'm adding my class to the first child. Okay, So container first child, it has that my extra class that I added. Now let's click save and test this. And yes, so both my tests are passing as expected. So now, of course, the other scenario left for us is to test when this one is not passing down. Okay, usually you have to test all the scenarios. So does not apply custom class will not provide. So here we didn't provide anything. So all I'm doing again, checking my container first child does not have any custom class in it. Okay, so let's click save. And this is working. So we have 3 tests and they all passed successfully. We created our cards, we make them reusable. Now the final step was just to make their layout on our home page as per the design. So when we look at the design, how we can approach this, again, this is not so related to React, just about standard HTML, CSS if you're doing it, okay? So we can see that we have the cards lined up. The layout looks complex, but it's very straightforward actually, okay? So basically what you have is just columns, okay? First column have 1 card, the second column have 2 cards, and third column have 1 card, okay? So basically what you can do, you can use display flex where you align their child elements as column, okay, and just center them vertically and horizontally as well, which is very easy and very straightforward. That means we need 1 container and 3 child elements, okay? So 1 child element, the first one will be the first column, and only we have 1 card, so it's just a card. The second child, it will be a div that will wrap up these 2 elements, okay? And then the third one, again, it's just 1 child we need, and it is a card. We only have 1, so directly to be a card. We don't need any extra div. So you don't see me writing all that code. I already add that. So what I did, I added a div as a container, okay? And then I have my first column, which is just a card. And then the second one, because I have 2 cards, I need 1 child, okay? So I can use display flex on the container. So I created extra div and 2 cards in it, and then the third column, which is the card only, okay? And what I did, I just created a class container, and class container basically just display flex and align item centers and justify content center. So it will vertically and horizontally center whatever items are there, okay? So when I did that, I had these elements stuck to each other on the right and the left. So this middle column, I add an extra class, and all what it has is just margin on the right and on the left, okay? So I have this space here on the right and the left, okay? The other thing I had to do is that the card down, I wanted some margin on the top, okay? So it's space between these 2 cards. So the way I did it, I just add a margin top class and it's margin top 20 pixels, okay? So you can see these designs are not related to the card itself. It's more about the layout of the parent who's using the cards. That's why the CSS is not in card.css, it's just in the app.css, okay? So that's how I laid. We go back to our UI and there we go. That is our actual UI that we have built, okay? Which is really look amazing. Now let's see how we can make this responsive. So if you look back at our design, when it's responsive, all what we have is that these elements are aligned like this vertically, okay? So what we can do, I will not do like pixel perfect things, but I'll give you an idea how you can approach this, okay? Now let's go back to our code. And because we use this display flex and we did the structure properly in the first time, now the make it responsive won't be a problem. So usually what I do, I'll not go and count really this much what is the width of it, okay? I don't take it that way, okay? Because it'll be too hard to make it work in different endpoints. But usually, so what I will do, I'll go to my UI, I'll open the inspector, then I will click this toggle device toolbar, okay? So when I do that, it will give me a browser like this, and I can check, for example, I want iPhone view, I want Pixel 7 view, so on, okay? But what I will choose is responsive, so I can by myself make it big and small. Then the way I will do is I will pull this and keep making small until I see where it is really breaking. It looks very bad, okay? So I can see that maybe until 900, I should make it as my breakpoint. So if I put 900 here, So that is how it looks now. Okay, so until here I say it's okay, it's fine, but more than this then it will be breaking. So in our style, if I open our guide, the style guide says the mobile is 375. It doesn't mean that's only your end breaking points, okay? But it have to make sure in 375 is exactly as per the design, okay? But between your desktop and mobile, you have to make sure your app is responsive enough, okay? Nothing is breaking. If someone is resizing their window, or someone have some special devices or tablets, in landscape mode and so on. So it should be working all the way. So what I will do, I will take that one as my breaking point, and I will apply the actual mobile design because I don't have tablet design, okay? So what I will do in 900, I want to make all these with 100%. So I will go back to my CSS, and this is my container, okay? And what I will say, so what I will do, I will say max width is 900, that's my breaking point, and the container, I'll make it a display block now, not anymore flex, okay? Then this middle here, which have margin right and left, I will remove it, okay? I don't need any margins on the right and the left anymore. So I'll just say here, margin 0, okay? Now let's look at it. That's how it looks at the moment, okay? So the cars are aligned, but they are stuck together, okay? Only this one should have margin top, which is having a little bit space on the top of it, okay? Now how I can fix this? First, I want to check my elements themselves. So this is the card, this is the middle one, and this is the card blue, which is down there, okay? So the way I can approach this is that I can go, for example, here, and I'll say that my container find the class card. If you remember, our components have class of card, so I'll try to access from the app because again this is more about that home page, it's not about the card itself, okay? So I'll say margin top, I'll say 20 pixels, okay? But that's mean this guy I have to remove it because it will have double. If you remember, or actually should be fine. We'll check it out then. Okay, there you go, there we go. So it is really aligned properly. Now what I want to do is to make this more appealing, I want it always to be centered, okay? So the way we can do that, I'll go here, I will say my cards, margin left auto, and margin right auto. Save, and there we go, okay? So this how my UI looks like now. Even if I make it small to 375 or whatever, it should be no problem, okay? Except you can see here we have an extra padding because if you remember the body itself, we can just go to CSS, add a media query for the body, okay? And you can make sure this padding is not that much big. But I'm very happy with this where it is enough, where it is now, okay? You can advance and play around with this, and I'll push my code to GitHub so you can have access to the code, so you can have access